You're listening to Ready2Awaken, your source for Dragon Ball Super strategy, tips, and advice to improve your skills so that when the time comes, you'll be ready to awaken. Welcome everyone to episode 1 of Ready2Awaken. I'm your host Kyle Bees. This podcast is something I started up as a way to bring the game to more players. I really wanted to give a way for people getting into the game, especially the players over in Europe who are just getting the game, to have a way to kind of ease yourself in, learn a little bit about the game, and just have an output for podcasts like Apple Podcasts, whatever. I know there's not much of a market there right now. Things catering to people who want podcasts. So I decided I was going to do a podcast, get things out there for you guys. I started it up, didn't have too many expectations. Reached out to some special people who are actually guesting on the show this week, and I'm really excited with how things turned out. This episode is going to dive a little bit into a little bit of a look at set 1, kind of its impact, the characteristics of the set, some of the mechanics of the cards, how those have translated to our set 2 metagame, and then we'll be looking a little bit more in particular around the strategy of hand destruction and kind of the idea of card advantage, because that's so important in this game. We're kind of a theme of hand destruction running throughout the entire episode, and some of my guests are pretty well versed in that strategy and those decks themselves, as you'll see once we get into it. So let's dive right into introducing our guests. I'm joined by 3 guests. I like to say they're going to be my resident experts for kind of the decks of set 1, and we got quite a bit of knowledge in the house on hand destruction as well. So tonight joining me, I have the man himself, Dusty O'Brien, founder of Kitchen Table Meta. We got Jordan Markle. You guys probably know him a lot for his Tricolor Ginyu deck. Kind of swept up into the set 1 meta. And we got Danny Hype. He's kind of been out there on Soul Striker as well as Cell Hand Destruction recently. So we got him joining us as kind of our hand destruction expert as well. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves, talk about where people can find you if they want to learn more about you.
Sure. My name's Dusty O'Brien. You can catch me on Kitchen Table Meta. Catch me on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, all the regular stuff. I do like a YouTube show on just cover like all kinds of stuff. I do like meta discussion and do cover events. I do a lot of streaming as well. But I'm gonna let these two guys, kind of introduce themselves. These are 2 guys you guys should be paying attention to. They're part of the Kitchen Table Meta Pro team. And we have Jordan. So Jordan, I'll let you go next.
Hello guys. Jordan Markle here. Thanks for bringing me on the show, Kyle. Really appreciate it. And my YouTube is Big Boy. Big Space Boy. I'm going to be doing another video here soon on my recap of the Virginia Regionals. So look forward to that.
Nice. And then the other person is the Canadian superstar himself. We got Danny Hype. What's up, bud?
Yeah, what's up, guys? So I am another YouTube content creator. I mostly just do deck profiles, and I like to do travel vlogs. So I have been traveling to the States quite a bit just to compete in a bunch of the events, just because Canada kind of didn't have too many of the things when set 1 first started. And I really want to be part of this game because I really enjoy it. So I kind of traveled, and I thought it'd be a cool idea to do some vlogs for that. I do from time to time stream on Twitch, and yeah, I just recently joined Kitchen Table Meta's team, and yeah, I've been having a blast playing this game so far.
All right. Yeah, thanks again. No problem, Jordan. I appreciate having you guys come on. It's great to get to talk to some of you guys, and just, I'm from the Midwest. Like, I live in Iowa. Like, we didn't get set 1 till pretty much set 2. So, like, I definitely understand. Like Danny's living in, like, Canada. I like to think that that's probably a little bit more extreme case. But, like, we literally just got, like, we had Alliance for the longest time. We had a tough time getting proc. Like, we literally just got stuff in, like, at our shop, like, that I work at yesterday. And, like, for me, it was like Christmas. I was like, I got draft boxes finally. I had all this credit stored up from playing locals. So I just, like, yep, we're doing it. So, yeah, it's a good time to be a super player for sure. I definitely can kind of fit in with that, just of wanting to make this game grow. I've pretty much been, like, just trying to push it as much as I could, even without even product here. I ordered stuff in myself set 1, and just been trying to grow a community. So I really can appreciate that you guys are trying to grow the game as well, and I just wanted to do something to kind of do the same. So I just figured I'd jump in with the podcast. I'm a media studies student, so, like, it's kind of what I've been looking into doing, and so I'm more of a filmer, but like, I just wanted to do anything I could to kind of get the game going, and I've been trying to grow my locals and stuff, so I figured if I can answer the same questions as I can at locals, why not bring it to everyone, right? Like, just spread the knowledge, get people in this game, because this is probably my favorite game I ever played. I played the last card game. I played Pokemon a lot growing up, but, like, Dragon Ball Super, I think the skill cap is terms of what you can like experience in every game is just consistently being higher than pretty much every game that I've played, and I think that
Yeah.
just makes it way more enjoyable personally. But
Yeah, easy to learn, hard to master, right?
yeah, definitely, and to me, that's always what's been like super addicting about card games. Like I'm not someone that usually gets hung up on stuff. Like once in a while, I'll be playing video games and like you don't usually see me like 100% games, but like certain ones, yeah, definitely. But like it's just like the card games. Like once I went to like competitive events as like a teenager, younger, like 12, 13, I started playing competitive stuff, and like it's just like that drive to do well is just like addicting for me. So yeah, I just like I want to grow the game, see it get huge, like to see the regional numbers just being massive, and they're all capping out, and people are just they just want streams, they want content. Like people are hungry to get into this game and just see it grow, and I think that's incredible.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's been a great time. I'll tell you, I think one of the hardest things about this game, though, honestly, I think for any game in general, is just like getting into the game, right? There's like multiple different ways you can get into the game. So, how did you get into the game, my friend?
So like I said, I did play the Panini game, and we had a group pretty similar. Like Aaron Aaron Anthony, he runs our group, right? Like he was in the last group, and he was even a content producer for the last game.
Okay.
So we kind of like there was like this like kind of cryptic like picture from like a trade show that went up sometime during the last game that was like a Dragon Ball Super product. I don't really remember exactly what time it was when that surfaced, but it was just like there was talk of a new game, right? So you kind of had like the group of doomsdayers, if you will, that were just kind of like, well, what does this mean for our game? And like no one was really sure. There wasn't any like real information for it, so you start to have people kind of get a little hesitant and that kind of stuff, and eventually like Aaron started doing content about like the as like our ICC Cardass or whatever the game is in Japan, kind of like the counterpart game. So he started like exploring that game a little bit. So like I kind of got an idea of like what this game might be like, because I know it was supposed to be based on sort of like that game to a certain degree. So I saw it kind of in there, and I wasn't like super interested at first, and I was kind of, like I like a lot of people was kind of understandably sad once we learned that like Panini was like not going to have the rights anymore or whatever. They weren't going to continue the license to develop their game. Obviously, they're a smaller company. They don't want to compete with Bandai probably, whatever the case was. But so that left a lot of people kind of like a little bit upset. Honestly, like that's understandable in my opinion. And I didn't really have any intentions at first of even picking up Super to a whole lot. I hadn't really been following the anime a whole lot at the time. I was pretty deep in school, so like it wasn't really on my radar as something I was like gonna be super into. So I just took a break for a while, and then when that demo deck promotion came out, where like the first 1,000 people or whatever, they'd send you 4 demo decks. I figured like what I got to lose, right? So sent in the email, got the confirmation, waited the month or whatever, got those, and played with some of my friends that live in my city and around, that played the last game with me. We just decided we are gonna check it out. We picked up Magic like December of that year, end of 2015 or whatever, and so we were kind of in that, and like we got pretty deep into Magic. I never really been playing before that, but the game kind of felt like a good mix of like pretty solid mechanics that some of them are pretty Magic similar, being energy and stuff like that. Like it kind of feels some of the traits from all the other games I played. Like I played Pokemon, so the idea of like life cards is like your prizes in that game. So it kind of felt like a good mix of all the games that I've enjoyed playing, and it's your beloved Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z super characters. So like, what's better than that, right? So it's super relatable. It just brings me back. Like I remember watching the show every day as a kid. Like I come home from school and just first thing I did was just like drop my bag anywhere I could and just run to the TV to watch Dragon Ball Z. So to be able to play a game that felt great, it plays really well, and to have it just be characters that I've always kind of had nostalgia for, it hit all the right spots. And once we started finding out about like Anime Expo had like the starter decks like early, like we had one of my buddies just like had someone that he knew going, and he just ordered some starter decks, and like we were just playing like shoved together like double 2 demo decks put together versus starter decks. And like we had learned the demo deck mirror. We started playing the starter decks with like the untapping and stuff, and with Soul Striker and like negates in the starter deck, right? Like we like kind of like slowly tiptoed in, and eventually we're all just hooked. So once that one came out, we just were trying to find product anywhere we could. We were calling all the shops across Iowa basically. I ended up driving like 2 hours on like a Wednesday morning just to go get stuff. just brought back like $400 worth of stuff for me and a couple guys, and like from there we were in. So it was a great time. Like I didn't have any anticipation or like really I wasn't waiting to get in the game, and just checked out the demo decks, and it's history from there. And now I'm just advocating this game to everyone I know. Like, hey, do you like card games like Dragon Ball Z? Like, I got something cool. You're like, if you don't like it, like, honestly, I'll be surprised, because this game is incredible. It plays so well.
This game is really
Definitely
fun.
good.
Definitely one of
It's
the best
really
games
fun.
I've played. And it's like I played games throughout, like I played these kind of games like throughout, like just growing up from when I was a kid, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, but I was too young to really take them too competitively and like go travel and kind of things like that. But so I played them all for fun, and then when I got a little bit older, I got like more competitive into some games, and then I kind of just fell out of card games until my friends brought me to the card store, and like we kind of just like browsing around, and the guy at the store was like, "Oh yeah, there's a new Dragon Ball game," and then it's like, "What? Sweet!" And we kind of pulled us into it, and like kind of taught us a little bit, and then me and my friend just bought stuff like right on the spot, went home, played, and then I've been hooked ever since. It's been a great game.
Definitely.
Yeah, my friend Chris got me into this game. That's what, like, he actually he told me about it. Like, I had no idea it existed, and he was like, "Dude, there's this new Dragon Ball game out. It looks sick." We watched like a YouTube video on it, and I teased Peter a lot because he was like the first person I saw playing the game, and I was like, "Oh, this game looks pretty sick." And yeah, we drove like to Pittsburgh and bought like, I bought 2 boxes, and my buddy Chris bought 4, and my other buddy bought like 2. We just came home, opened them up, and started learning how to play, and we just like fell in love with the game. And then like the next week I played at Gen Con, so like it was just like from there it was just like it was awesome. And what got me hooked on this game was like the depth and deck building. Like, it's not like usually in the first set of a game there's only like 1 or 2 good decks, but in this game it felt like there was a lot of different decks that were good, and like all the cards are pretty well balanced. Like, it felt like when I thought a card was busted, I would read it and be like, "No, never mind." Like, it's like it has limitations, like the Ginyu Force cards are a big one that has like limitations, but they're powerful.
Yep.
So how about you, Jordan? How'd you get into this game, buddy?
I got into this game. Some of you guys might know him, Scott Dashy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've known Scott for like maybe like 12 years, I think. He played Naruto with me. He got me into Pansy. He got me into Super. Like, he just like always tries to get me to play these games. And realistically, I was gonna give it a shot anyway, just because after what happened to Pansy, like Kyle was saying, it was really unfortunate, really saddening. I didn't want to believe it at the time because I actually really enjoyed Pansy. But Super is great, and I'm glad to be playing it. And that's pretty much how I got in. Just Scott Ashley being like, "Yo, pick up some cards. This game's good." And I'm just like, "Okay, we'll try it out." And the rest is history, man.
Yeah, I mean, the game's absolutely amazing. I'll tell you that. It's like freaking a lot of fun. There's my favorite thing about it is there's like, and I think Bandai's done a great job with it, is there's like a lot of ways to learn the game too. Like, especially as a new player, like you were talking about, Kyle, like you live in Iowa, right? That's
Yeah,
a lot different
yeah.
than somebody who lives like in a populated area like I do, where there's like a lot of people that play card games around here. So that's like one of my favorite things about the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
actually, my one friend was saying it perfectly about how some of the other games are actually like they're hemorrhaging players, like they're losing players because of how their meta is right now. And it's like a perfect time that Dragon Ball has come in, because we've actually, like, even at my locals, we've pulled a lot of like Yu-Gi-Oh players and like Vanguard players and Magic players to our game, and like sometimes our tournaments are bigger than like whenever they hold their other tournaments, like their Yu-Gi-Ohs or Magics and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And it's just really fun to see that our community is growing here in Toronto, at least.
Yeah. Like Dusty said, like, ways to get in this game. When we didn't have product here, and I was trying to get people like sold on the game, like I'd bust out a deck, and like this game like pretty much sells itself. I like to say, just like when you look at the cards, like the moment I showed someone like a human shield like Krillin blocker, and like the fact that there was like Awakening Rage Son Goku, like the card design, even like they looked at the foil, they felt the cards, like they saw like the flavor like that alone has sold a few people. Just like check it out, right? It's like, but having this tutorial app and we didn't have product was huge. The tutorial app alone, to have something like that like out the gate to teach people, like that was incredible for me to be able to like, hey, like if like you should check out this game, it's awesome, and like there's a way for you to check it out that costs you nothing, right? Like you can like
Right.
here's the shop Wi-Fi, like just download this right now, and if like you have any shred of interest, like I do not think you'll be disappointed. And like a lot of people come back like the next week or whatever. Like Danny said, we have like the only regular scenes of cards we had before this were really like Yu-Gi-Oh. There's like probably a dozen people maybe weekly that were local. Like Magic is like the only other game that has like an established play group at the store in my town. Like there hasn't really been ever like super organized, like good turnout for Pokemon. No other games really taken off. We only live in like a 70,000 person town, so like it's not like we're a small town, but like the shop's just pretty small. It's not like we have a ton of communities, right? Like that are kind of funneling in here. So it is pretty small, but like we're already up to we've had kit tournaments for like the last couple weeks, and we've had anywhere from like 12 to 16 people every week, and we've only started having product in like November, so we're already like matching or surpassing like Yu-Gi-Oh here, which has been being played for like years. So we definitely have seen the same thing. Like when I think like the link rules came out for Yu-Gi-Oh, I know like overall like it just seems like I work at the card shop, so I have like a little bit of knowledge in like groups and stuff, but like it seemed like there's a lot of people that were kind of turned off by that idea. I know it changed like the rules a little bit, so you can only have certain number of like extra stuff on the field, and like a lot of people just like their deck was just like completely like eradicated, right? So they were like, all right, I'm done. So we had a few people come over from Yu-Gi-Oh too. Like I definitely have seen that in the group. Like Danny was saying, his local said the same thing. So I think this game definitely did kind of have like the right time in terms of coming in when some other games were like stagnant metas. Like Magic Standard was a little rough at the time too. So we had a few people that were looking for like either a side game or just something else to play to kind of supplement that. So we had a few people that started playing both games, and we have a few people that just crossed over completely from other games. So I definitely think that this game it's similar enough to the other games that like I like to teach people if I know they play Yu-Gi-Oh or they play Magic. I like to explain things in kind of like, you know, terms that they can relate to. I think that's really helpful I've played multiple games myself to be able to use them and their terminology to kind of like draw parallels between the games to teach. So having people be interested in both games where this isn't their first card game has made it pretty easy to teach people, I think, which is good too. So yeah, I definitely see that this game is popping up, and people are taking notice, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly what you said. I mean, like, you know, if you're a new player, you're listening to this, or you're interested in the game at all, I mean, I think exactly what Kyle said. The tutorial app is a great way to get into the game. You can get it on your iPhone, you can get it on Android phones, you can also just get it on your desktop as well. So you can get it on like anything that plays anything. That you can probably get it on Game Boy too. And then you can also just like go to your local store too. Almost all local stores now have like little demo decks that they can play, sit down and show you how to play the game. It's a very easy game to learn how to play. I mean, that's something that Jordan talked about as well, where it's just like it's a really like easy to learn game, but it's hard to master. So like, you know, you can jump right in, play your game. It's super fun. It feels like Dragon Ball. It has a lot of familiarities with other card games too, like Kyle said. So like if you've played any other card game, you'll at least know you'll know like something about the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Something's gonna feel familiar if you've played any of the other like big three games. Basically, like there's some aspect that will feel like not perfectly new, right? So I think there's something for everyone that's played card games competitively to kind of latch onto. And I think that's like, it probably isn't intentional by their design necessarily, but I think it's really good in terms of kind of getting people in for sure.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's just cool. I mean, and once you learn the game, once you get there and like, you know, like something also Kyle touched on a little bit too, is like, and if you're a newer player and like no one around your area doesn't play, there's also tons of different ways to be able to play the game without like, you know, having other players in your area to play. So there's like Octagon, there's Tabletop Simulator. There's also Untap.in, which is like a new website. I mean, I don't know, like Jordan, you said you have a lot more experience with it than me. Is Untap like a new website, or is it just like a past thing, or?
Actually, I'm not too sure. I know that Zach, my buddy, local buddy, that's what he likes to play on. So like, I mean, before the regional, we were just testing on there a good bit, and I mean, it's pretty easy to navigate through, and I kind of like it a little bit better than Octagon. But
Right.
you don't have to go through the image packs and everything like that. All that stuff's already downloaded, pre-downloaded. You can build your decks. So that's nice just to get in there, build a deck, and then play real quick if you don't have much time. So
It's browser based, correct? Right?
Yeah, it's browser based.
Does it work on mobile? Do you know? Like, can you play it in a mobile browser?
I don't know, but I know that it works on Mac, which
Yeah.
is really important.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, Mac, the whole, like, I've seen a lot of people, like, I'm pretty sure, like, does Octagon work on Mac is like probably like the third most frequent question when we don't have news in the group. I want to say, like, I see that all the time, and like I think it's great that there's an alternative, right? Like, so yeah, I'd be interested to see if like you can make it work on mobile. Like, obviously, like depending on what the inputs are, I'm sure like you might have some difficulties. I didn't see anything until like last week. I think I saw someone pushed an Untapped group in like a league group in one of the things I was in. So I hadn't seen it or heard of it before then, and now to see people catching on is I'll have to check it out for sure. But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I mean
good option.
it's a great program to use. Also, if you guys just need to find people to play, there's all kinds of different resources to do that as well. You can join the Kitchtail Meta Discord channel. I know Danny has a Discord channel as well. There's also the Dragon Ball Super card game community discussion group, which almost has like 10,000 people in it. You know what I mean? So that's an awesome resource as well. So you can jump in there, find somebody to play with you. There's always people looking for games. Plus the DBS TCG Duelist Facebook page has a monthly event, and if you win that event, you get a free booster box as well. So there's like Octagon is like probably the most popular way to play the game right now, and there's like you can actually like win prizes and stuff. Like Danny, I'll let him talk about it right now, but Danny just held a tournament in Octagon. It was super successful. He gave out tons of prizes. I mean, it was almost better than like some of the events at local stores. Like, Danny, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I was actually really happy with the turnout for it, and like all the people that messaged me afterwards, or even some people I met in Virginia. They were telling me that they were part of my tournament and like thanks for hosting it. But yeah, just like it's not even me. I see a bunch of people like trying to start up that stuff too. And like one of my friends that I met through Octagon, actually, Jimmy Bacon, him and his team, I think at Hermit Style Gaming, they've been trying to push. I think they're partnered with Octagon actually, so they've been trying to push a lot of tournaments with a bunch of his prizes. I've been seeing a bunch of his tournaments popping up. I personally haven't had time to join any of them, but it's just there's a lot of people in the community trying to put back into the community, and I love seeing that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like I think Eddie was saying, it's like these are because he won my first tournament, and he was telling me how like that kind of put him on the map and how he became popular and kind of stuff like that, and then that's kind of where he became who he is today, kind of thing in the scene. And I think that's just like that's great for like not just my tournaments, but like for all these other people's tournaments. Like the more recognition people get, it's kind of like for me even like I guess it's just more for my YouTube channel, but sometimes when I go to these events, I feel like I'm famous, you know, like in this little community with all these people coming up to me, and it just feels great to be part of something like that. And I'm just happy that a lot of people out there are putting like their like effort into just making this community like grow and just being a lot better. So it's pretty awesome.
No, I mean absolutely. I mean that's essentially what happened to me at Gen Con too, right? Like no one knew who I was, right? And I built hand instruction with the Gen Con, and then all of a sudden people were so interested in what I did that I decided to make a YouTube channel. You know what I mean? So like, these tournaments might not seem like a big deal, but like honestly, if you go there, you try your hardest, like people will notice. Like people will be like, wait, that person's pretty good, or that person has a cool idea. You know what I mean? And like you said, I have people message me all the time and ask me how they join the Kitchtail Meta Pro team, and it's like you just have to like prove yourself essentially as number one. And these small little community tournaments are the best way to do that. You start winning those events, and somebody will take notice, like Danny said. So I mean, awesome tip. Yeah, so I guess I'll ask you, Jordan, as well. Like, what do you think? Because like essentially you're in the same situation, right? I mean, I guess you were like people knew about you before, but like, what are some tips that you have to like help improve your game? Like, if you're a new player, you're playing on Octagon, you're like working your butt off. Like, how do you like make yourself a better player?
I just play as much as possible. Practice makes perfect, and I mean I've played like so many other card games that were like. Just like playing Naruto at like a basic level, which is the second game I started playing. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! A little bit when I was really young, but for the first competitive game that I started playing, just keep practicing. Like you will see yourself continually get better, and Octagon is something we didn't have back then, and so now that we have that, it's a great tool to use to just be able to play more. And I mean, it's super simple, super easy to get into, and yeah, you'll definitely see results if you keep practicing.
And actually, also playing with like having like your group of friends at your locals that kind of elevate your game. It's like I always feel like I always want to play. That's why I'm happy to be on the team, because I want to play with people that are better than me, because that's like the only way I feel like I'll get better. And like I think that's what happened with my locals. Like in the beginning with my locals, it was like. I kept winning all of our locals, and whenever people would see me, they'd be like, oh, I don't want to play this guy, But then I started making like friends with them, and I'd play test with them a lot, and then all of a sudden now they're beating me in tournaments, and they're the ones that topping, like they're the ones doing really well, and just having like a nice group of friends to play with really can really improve your game, especially if they're better than you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's what helped me in Richmond. Honestly, was me and Danny played so many games. Like, I mean, it was funny because we were really, really worried about Blue Red Vegeta, and like I've never played the deck before in my life, so like I started playing against Danny, like I was like he just destroyed me like every game. I remember I told Danny, I was like, Danny, this deck is terrible. Like I was like, I hate this deck. This deck is bad. And he's like, "You're just playing it wrong." I was like, "How am I playing it wrong? I don't understand." And like, so he told me, he's like, don't attack with combos, only attack with critical, put pressure on him. And so I started doing that, and all of a sudden I was like taking games off of him, and then like I caught a couple more play mistakes I made, and all of a sudden I was winning like 3 games in a row. And then like all of a sudden I was like, never mind, I see why this deck's broken. Like, it's really important to have those like those friends and those people that you in Octagon and like these programs like allow you to do that. Like Danny lives in freaking Canada, you know what I mean, and we could still play test and like he can teach me how to play the game, and that's awesome, you know what I mean. So it's definitely a really good tip to find a good playtest group. And I know Jordan, I mean, he drove down from freaking Pennsylvania down to one of my locals the first time I met him. I mean, they all played in our event. We had a freaking blast. Like, it's just it's like one of the coolest things about this game is like the community is just awesome, and people are just like so willing to help you if you ask, and you make friends that you wouldn't expect to make. Like I would never known who Danny or Jordan was. Now they're like 2 of my best friends. So like it's just awesome to have make those connections just over like a card game. I don't know, it's just really cool.
Crazy how things work out.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I know. I mean, like, you don't live that far away, Jordan, but I probably never would have known who you were, if it wasn't for Dragon Ball. So it's just like, it's just really cool that, like, these regionals and all this stuff, like, it just, I don't know. It's like, man, I'm a little, like, biased, but it's just, this community is just amazing. So it's like, this is a great game to invest in. It's a cheap game to get into. And the community is welcoming. I mean, I've never been to an event like I was in Richmond where like everybody I played was super cool. Like usually, like especially at Magic events, there's usually that one person that like, you know what I mean? Like who I'm talking about? Just like that one person that's like a rule shark and is like mean and just like aggravating to play against. And like no one is like that I've played with so far. They've just all been welcoming and just great people. So.
Yeah, I'm like super hoping that we get a Midwest regional, like Midwest, like Indianapolis, I guess to some people is the Midwest. Me living in like Iowa, like Indy doesn't seem too middle of the country in our opinion for the most part here, but like we had a Chicago regional twice for like the last game, and you better believe we carpooled from Iowa to that. We had like states in like Wisconsin last time for the last game. I want things to pop up in the Midwest like so bad because like it's hard for me to get away for a weekend. Like I'm pretty tight budget with school and stuff right now. So like I was hoping I could make it out to Indy, and I don't think that's gonna be the case. But like I really hope that this game like keeps growing like that, and we start hitting bigger tournaments in like Chicago and stuff. Because I know some people flew in for like the Panini game to Chicago. We had tons of players from like out east that came and stuff, and it's pretty accessible to get to Chicago. Obviously, you have like O'Hare's like one of the biggest airports in the nation, so. I really would like to see something happen there eventually. So, if for whatever reason we get Bandai listening in on this, like, hook it up, Bandai, please.
Yeah, I mean that's a great thing about Bandai, and I'll let Jordan talk about this as well, but because he's had some experience about it as well. But from my experience, like they listen so well to feedback. Like when we played at Gen Con event, there was like a lot of people that were mad that it was best of one because like at Gen Con it was best of one 25-minute round, which is like extremely fast. It's like the fastest thing ever. And like so many people got mad about that, and then they switched to best of 3 like an hour rounds. You know what I mean? So like they listen to feedback, and I think that the best thing you can do is just let Bandai know. I mean, right now even with the ARG events, we're in like a trial period, like we're just testing out how the events run, and so yeah, I mean you let Bandai know. I mean they want this game to be successful, and they know that it is like right now it's like exceeded their expectations, so they're like, holy crap, people really want this game, and that's like step one. And so you just have to let them know what you want, and like they'll be more than happy to try to fit it in there and make it work.
Yeah, the fact that they're like paying attention and taking so much feedback, I know they're in contact with like just certain members of the community and stuff to get feedback, and Jim is incredible. Like I can't believe the amount of work that man's probably putting in with all the ARG stuff. Like I haven't even got to meet him, but like my goal in life is to shake Jim's hand, even if it's not at an ARG event, I think, because like seeing how much work he's had to do kind of being like the kind of go around between Bandai and the community, I don't think anyone would ever like willingly accept that role knowing what Jim ended up having to do. But like thank you, Jim, for being that. To have someone to kind of like, you see people asking Jim questions that like they just want information, right? And like I think to have like a company taking feedback like Bandai is, to actually like listen and put it into their game into practice and have like certain channels of where there is like open direct communication is huge, because I think that's what a lot of people like are kind of mad at with like Wizards and stuff nowadays, is that there's all these issues, and like you can send a support email and get a canned response, right? But like to feel like they're paying attention and like seeing Bandai take feedback into account and make changes to keep the game growing, I think it's definitely important to keep the game going. I think that's probably attributed to the success we've had so far, even So I really hope that we keep going and we see it expand. And I mean, I don't have any doubts with the way the game's going, with how OP's done so far. Like, I have high hopes. So yeah, I definitely think that as long as they keep listening to the players and designing great products, and like they've done great with all the sets and cards and stuff so far. I'm excited to see all those Ultra Pro products in March, the new deck boxes and all that stuff like that, the mats. Like, I think we got a good future ahead of us, and I really hope that it spreads out more. We get more opportunities to play and more opportunities to bring it to more people everywhere. So
Yeah,
Is it Europe now that's starting to get set one? Is that what?
yeah, certain countries, I think they announced like 3 more a couple weeks ago. I think like France and stuff are getting the game in February. It's like slowly rolled out to like a few countries, I think. Like I want to say like England and a couple other ones. And they announced it for more, I think, as well. So I think it's kind of like spot like by country release.
That'll be great for the game. Once
yeah,
it starts expanding. Like
definitely. Like I know Dusty, you've said many times on the streams and stuff that like your kind of benchmark for a game, if it's making it, right, is like the Europe release.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, for people who don't know about Europe from like a tabletop scenario, like a tabletop, I guess, aspect is that's like their preferred type of gameplay. I mean, obviously they play like video games and stuff too, I mean, as much as we do, but they have like their own reward system for tabletop games. They do like so like if your game makes it in Europe, it's actually better than if it makes it in the United States most of the time. I mean, as far as a company, so like as a U.S. company, like if when I crack, like, for example, I work for Cryptozoic, if one of our games did well in Europe, like we were as excited, if not more than excited, than if it did well in America, because you just have like a bigger player base there. They have like little pubs and stuff where they go there and play board games, like so there's like Catan, those kind of games. It's just more in their culture. It's more like accessible for them, which is awesome. And I think that's starting to catch on here in America, which is super exciting. But yeah, I mean, they love tabletop games. They're all fantastic players too. So it's very exciting to see it being taken up in Europe.
definitely.